Welcome to Mountaineer Football Tonight, the weekly coaches show for Kings Mountain High School, brought to you by KMHS Sports and the Kings Mountain Touchdown Club.
Welcome, fans, to Mountaineer Football Tonight. We're glad to have you with us. Coach Heron can't be with us tonight. He had some other obligations to take care of, so we will be joined by one of his assistants, offensive coordinator, Coach Jamie Bolton. We're going to talk to him about the big homecoming week this week against Hunter Huss and what we have to look forward to there. So stick around after the break. We'll talk to Coach Bolton and see what the breakdown is for this week. Be right back.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by H.B. Jones Appraisals, KM Family YMCA, KM Paint Pros LLC, Arthur Services Incorporated, Harris Funeral Home,
Welcome back, fans. Coach Bolton, like always welcome Coach Heron with a handshake. Good to have you here. This is Jamie Bolton, our offensive coordinator. Coach, what I want to do to start the show, just real quickly, let you tell us about, because a lot of fans, they've seen you, they know you, but they don't really know you, you know. Let them talk a little bit about your career up to this point, and then what you've done, what your role is with the Mountaineers, and then we'll talk about our offense.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys having me on. Coach Heron brought me in last year. I'll get to kind of our history, but I started off, I went to high school at Forest View High School. I graduated in 2006 and had a decision to make, do I want to play football or baseball in college? And I chose baseball, so I went to Belmont Abbey College. And as I played baseball, I was able to start my coaching career at Highland Tech for Jerry Jordan. I know you guys know him pretty well here. Yeah. He actually coached me as a player for a couple years at North Gaston. And so my dad was on staff at North Gaston under Bruce Clark. And so my freshman year at North Gaston, I ended up finishing at Forest View, but to have that reconnection was great and kind of learn how to coach under him at a smaller school. And so then from there, I actually spent a summer. So I graduated from Belmont Abbey, and I spent a summer with Coach Medlin at Forest View. So Coach Medlin was my offensive coordinator, and so he gave me a JV defensive coordinator position there for that summer, but then I had to get a teaching job. They didn't have a teaching job at Forest View, so I had to get a Red Springs High School out east. And I lived there for 2 years, so I knew nobody out there. Wow. and learned under some great guys. Joe Salas was one of my mentors. He's a state champion. And so Joe Salas was there at Red Springs, and then from there I came back home and coached for Mike Patton for 1 year at North Gaston. Yeah. And so that was a good experience with them and building that relationship and kind of getting back to some Gaston County roots. And then from there I went on to Marvin Ridge and was the offensive coordinator. And early in my career, I think I was 25 years old. So that was a big task for me, 3A football. And so then from there I went to York High School, or York Comprehensive High School, and coached for Bobby Carroll, and that's our defense coordinator for those that don't know. That's the connection. Yeah. So, and Bobby and my dad were friends growing up, and so you always kind of, connected with them. So I went across the border and was there for 6 years, 5 with Bobby, and then 1 with the current head coach, Dean Boyd. So I've been around a lot of good football. And from there, I was able to get a head coaching job at a private school in Concord, Cannon School. Right. And I was there for 3 seasons, and we were able to do some really good things there. It was a great experience for me as a first-time head coach, dealing with the things of a head coach. And we were able to win 2 conference championships and a state championship there, and coached a lot of really good players and still have good connections there. But the connection here is knowing Bobby. Bobby was brought in by Strait, and him and Strait were at Legion Collegiate Academy, and they were playing us. They played us a couple times when I was at Cannon. I also coached against Strait when he was at South Point when we were at York. And so when Bobby, him and Strait kind of contacted me and see if I was interested in leaving Cannon and coming here, I couldn't pass up the opportunity. Sure. It's a great place. Kings Mountain's a special place always, and I'm so fortunate to be a part of this community, and just things like the coaches show means a lot to the community, and so I appreciate you guys having me on, and so it's been a good 2 years so far.
I'll tell you, a lot of people won't know this, and I don't even know if you probably don't remember this part that I'm about to say, and I know I shared this with you before. I was the assistant principal, one of the assistant principals at Lincoln High School. Okay. And you applied for our head coaching position, and I'm not saying it's just because we're on air. This is the honest truth. I'm not trying to do this for him. Coach Bolton, you were my choice to be the head coach.
Wow.
And we had a list of finalists, and you were the one, like I chose you. And again, I'm not saying it's just because we're on air. This is the honest truth. And because I knew, like, you were young then. I mean, that was several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see then what your capabilities were. And that was before you'd gone to Cannon.
Mm-hmm.
But just what you came in with, organized with your organizational skills and that kind of thing. But as we know, the Lord has ways of working.
100%.
That wasn't the place for you to be. We know that now. And so even though I would have liked for you to have been a Wolf while I was there, I'm glad you're here now, so that's great, and we're glad to have you. And you're right, KM is a really special place. I've been here, man. We've been here 17 years and been affiliated. Every time I thought I'd get away from the football team, I'm pulled back in, which I'm glad with. But my children have all come through here.
Right.
Now Gabe's the last one, so we're still involved. But what a lot of people are going to want to know from you, Coach, because they see it, but they want to know a little bit about your offensive style. So tell us a little bit about like what you run. Again, not a lot of detail because we're not trying to give too much away.
Right.
Because we, believe it or not, we have found out there are people that watch this show that are not affiliated with Kings Mountain. But talk a little bit about what you do and what you look at and what you run scheme-wise a little bit with your offense.
Yeah, and just to give a brief history of kind of my I guess career, started off running the triple option in high school for Scott Lee. You know, Scott Lee was our head football coach at Forest View, hard-nosed guy. I was a backup quarterback, and
because he's got ties to South Point.
Correct. So yes, he came from South Point, brought that to Forest View. We were pretty successful. We had a couple good seasons while I was there, and so learning that offense really, I think, helped me kind of understand, you know, the box, the run box, and how to use option to our advantage, and making sure that defenses are holding everybody accountable or accounting for everybody on the field. Right. And I was backup, so I wasn't the starter there, but I did play receiver. And then when Medlin came in, Coach Chris Medlin came in, he spread everything out my senior year, and so I played our Z receiver, which is really what we have in our offense right now. So being able to play those positions and understand that, and then as a coach, I was really inundated with the air raid. So under Joe Salas at Red Springs, he was actually at Valdosta State with Hal Mummy. You guys can research Hal Mummy.
Yes.
And he was actually at Valdosta State with Dana Holgerson was there, and so he was true air raid. You know what we kind of understand as the West Coast offense right now, and so learning that bare bones air raid, pure air raid system was where I was headed. I was like, let's do this, and so I implemented that at Marvin Ridge. And then we were actually running that at York when I got there. So as an assistant coach, we were running a version of the air raid. So, and then we transitioned from the air raid to a Gus Malzahn system, which everybody knows Cam Newton at Auburn. Gus Malzahn is kind of the huge name in the power spread. So you get an H-back back there, you're running your triple option. It's almost like wing T runs, but you're able to kind of spread the field and pass a little bit. So I think right now it's been an evolution of taking air raid passing principles and then really marrying that up with a downhill, aggressive power run scheme. Yeah. And so I think marrying those two together and creating our system, I think that's what I really like to do. So we call it the power spread. We use multiple personnels. We use 10 personnel, which is one running back, no tight ends. We use a tight end sometimes or an H-back. Sometimes we have split back, just depending on our personnel. But I do like our system because what it allows for is us to find our identity with our personnel first. I've had running quarterbacks before, I've had pocket passers before, but really it's our same system over and over and over again. So at Canada it was the same. Here it's the same, but we have different weapons and kids to utilize. So, but that's what we're going to do. So we're going to be a downhill, aggressive run game team that we have to establish the line of scrimmage. If we're playing against zone coverages, our passing concepts will attack that zone coverage. And if we're playing against man teams, we'll try to utilize our personnel to attack weaknesses in man coverage or the matchups that we like. And so, but everything does start with the run and comes from that.
And it kind of runs through your quarterback too.
It does.
Like you're saying, like what type of quarterback you have.
Yeah.
But it looks to me, and you just answered that, it looks to me like the offense can adjust to what the play will dictate or the plays will dictate based on who's behind the scene.
Yeah, and so when you think about designing an offense, I think you always have to start with your personnel. Mm-hmm. Your personnel will dictate the formations you can run. Right. So if you don't have a tight end, don't run tight end formations. Correct. If you don't have two running backs, don't run two back sets. If you have five really good receivers, then you're probably going to be more spread. But then your offense has to allow the plays for those formations to be implemented. So it's personnel, formations, and then what plays can you run out of that. And then same thing with linemen. You know, some years you'll have smaller linemen that need to pull, and you run more gap schemes. Some years, like right now, we're finding out that we're more of a zone team, and so zone has been really good for us. Last year it was more gap. So it can just vary year to year, but our principles and details never change.
Correct.
And so I think that's what gives you the ability year after year to maintain consistency, or at least that's the idea, no matter what your personnel is.
Do you find it easy or easier for the guys to pick it up? I know you start them on the JV. I think our middle school runs a little bit of it.
Yep.
Concepts, verbiage, that type of thing. Are they able to pick up on it rather easily from the way you do it?
I think so, yeah. I think what we do is we try to conceptualize everything. Everything has a concept. So when we say things like gap scheme, our offensive linemen know what that means.
Right.
They have there's certain details and principles in that scheme that they can apply to multiple plays. So gap scheme is like power counter, GT counter. Our zone scheme is inside zone, outside zone, but some of those same principles apply not just within the scheme itself, but overall the scheme. So I think we can both be a gap scheme and a zone scheme based on similar details in the way that our technique is up front. And
do you ever, or have you ever found yourself modifying that via in the game? That's an adjustment you can make in the game when you see
100%.
what they're going to give you. Because you and I both know when you scout all the film you want to scout, teams will always do things you weren't expecting them to do. And so I think the best teams, and one of the things I think we do a good job with here is adjusting, making those adjustments in game and at halftime. I like that our guys know, as you're alluding to, that they can change blocking technique, well not technique, but blocking responsibilities in game.
Yes, and I think early in seasons it's hard because you don't have enough reps.
Yeah.
But as you go through the season, even last year, our yards per carry increased last year because our offensive linemen were better at kind of identifying fronts, identifying certain technique details that need to happen for each scheme. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit this year. So, and you don't know, it's hard as an offense, especially when you have so much turnover, to understand what your identity is going to be. Like, who are we?
Right.
And so you have to figure that out on the fly. You have 2 scrimmages. And then you gotta get going, especially like against Shelby, where you gotta try to figure it out really quickly what you can do well, and sometimes that's a challenge.
Offense always takes longer.
I think so, especially up front.
I do.
Especially the
I agree
linemen.
with that,
Yep.
and I don't mean that because I think dumb people play defense. I'm just saying the defensive schemes can be complicated too, but you can adjust a little more quickly, in my opinion, defensively in game. Offense, you can't, and you've got to, like you're saying, you're learning on the fly. And not to mention, you start out with a team like a Shelby. I mean, or like them starting even with us.
Yeah.
They're trying
They
to find
struggle a little bit too.
Darn right.
Yep.
I mean, it shows you. I think fans don't realize that sometimes, even when you look at like the big boys, like in college and the professional level, offenses to me are a little slower at first. And like I look at like the Tar Heels. I mean, they're struggling because they lost their starting quarterback. Last night they beat Central, but they used 2 guys throughout the whole game, still trying to find a rhythm, and that's collegiate level.
Yep.
So I don't think we have enough time to really get into it completely because we couldn't answer everything, but we also know that patience is paramount.
It is.
When it comes to that. So that's good, Coach, and I appreciate you giving us that. What we'll do quick, we'll take a break. We'll go and let our sponsors talk. From that, we'll come back and we're going to talk about our big game this week with Hunter Huss. So stick around after the break and we'll talk about the Huskies.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by H.B. Jones Appraisals, KM Family YMCA, KM Paint Pros LLC, Arthur Services Incorporated, Harris Funeral Home,
Welcome back, fans. Coach, let's talk about the big conference opener this week. It's also homecoming. I know as a former coach, I'm a coach now, but homecoming can be a bit of a distraction, of course, sometimes because it's not really for us or for the team. It is for the team, but it's like a lot more of the stuff around. And I know it's also, Huss is dangerous. They are a good team, and it's a conference game. So just give us, from what you have seen so far, what's impressed you about the Huskies?
Yeah, Huss, and I haven't really watched much of their offense, but defensively, they're aggressive. That's one thing that I've noticed. They're really good on the edge of their defense. What I mean by that is their down safeties, their star and weak safety are really good. Their middle field safety is pretty good too. They're very athletic, and they're fast. That's one thing that I think they kind of remind me a little bit of Shelby's speed on the back end. They can really run. And then on the edge of their defensive line, they're really aggressive too. What they like to do is they like to play multiple zone schemes too. So zone coverage schemes, they'll run some man. And so we're going to have to be ready for that. And they will bring pressure, especially when they think that we're going to run the football. So that's kind of their big run-stopping answer is to bring internal pressure. So we're going to have to be ready for that. But no, they're a good football team. They're aggressive. They like to thump. They are an aggressive team with and they're they're going to, if we don't have our stuff together, then they can provide some challenges for sure.
What kind of scheme are they running? Are they running an odd front, an even front?
They're an even front team, so 4-man front. They like to rotate their safeties a lot to fit extra gaps. So whenever we put our H back in there, they're going to rotate 12 down, and they're going to probably fit the weak side of that formation and try to push everything to their linebackers. Number 4 is a really good player. 11's a good player. He's played down and at D tackle, and he's played linebacker. 9's a good player. He plays tight end too. So they have a lot of two-way players. Yeah. But they try to rotate some DBs. But no, their safety rotation is their main answer when you add the 7th gap in the box, and they do a good job with that. And they tackle pretty well too.
Yeah. So you answered my question. I was going to ask about two platooning. If we saw guys going both ways, you did that. Have you been able to see anything offensively from them, like what our defense might face? I know you don't. I know you guys do like most of us do. You watch one side of the ball, but have you been able to see any offensive stuff from them?
Yeah, just knowing their quarterback. He's a special player.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can take over a game. With his speed and athleticism, he throws a really good deep ball, and he's got some weapons. They play both ways, so I know how talented they are. 2 plays both ways, 1 plays both ways, 9 plays both ways, 12 will play some, and so he's got some weapons. So I know that that's one of the hardest things to defend is a quarterback that's extremely mobile, and he can score, and he's shown that already this season against everybody they've played. They've played a couple 5A teams in South Carolina, and they scrimmaged them, and then with Providence and Drawn, I mean he's kind of had his way with most of those teams they've played.
So what's going to be the approach this week? I mean, we've had a week off. They've had a week off, and I'm not worried about how they're preparing because that's not our responsibility. But when you guys come back in tomorrow and going through the week, what's the approach we take? Because there can be some distractions. I think there's a parade uptown. There's a party or whatever, and that's good for the kids, for the school environment. But we've got a game to play, obviously.
Yeah, I think those things are positive. I think we could try to use that to our advantage, I think, with just showing, hey, this community supports you so much, and they're excited about what you guys are doing, so we have a responsibility to go out there and really play well with great details, and our process this week needs to be, really dialed in to eliminate some of those distractions. So I think our kids are going to respond. Last week, we did a really good job of just trying to fix us. We talk about that bye week being against us. And so working through our issues and trying to fix that. But this week, we're all focused on Hunter Huss, and so I'm excited about our process this week.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, this week is, like I said, it is the conference opener. It is the homecoming game. Lots going on. We're actually going to talk about that here in just a moment after Coach leaves us and we go over the week in review. We even have the themes. Drew just sent me the themes for the week. If you want to dress up, we'll be able to tell you that. But we'll take another break right quick. When we come back, we want to talk to Coach a little bit about the offense. I know we've talked about our scheme. We're going to talk about some of the things our offense has done so far this year. So stick around and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by H.B. Jones Appraisals, KM Family YMCA, KM Paint Pros LLC, Arthur Services Incorporated, Harris Funeral Home,
Sorry, we were joking off air. Welcome back. Coach, let's talk about offense, just from things I've seen from a standpoint of a fan and the commentator that talks about it Friday night. It really looked to me like in the Burns game, we really started finding our rhythm. Actually, I thought that kind of started coming together when we finished the Cox Mill game. And that I thought, I talked about this last week on the show with Coach Herron. TJ's throwing the ball better. He's got a cleaner pocket. I think we're running the ball better. I think we're fine. We're trying to maybe start to figure out what we're doing more consistently up front. I know that they're talented. I don't think it's that they've not ever known what they were doing. I think they're finally beginning to gel. Talk to us about what's impressed you so far in the 3 games, like the evolution in the 3 games with our offense.
Yeah, I think the number one thing that stands out to me is our efficiency in passing. I think that's even from last year. I think our efficiency in passing has improved. I feel more comfortable calling more passes. I mean, I think in the last couple of games we're 55-45 run to pass, which is a little bit different than last year. So, but I think our receivers are doing a really good job of running routes all the time the way they're supposed to. Yeah. And I think that makes such a huge difference because in our offense we don't have, hey, we're throwing it to Tex or we're throwing it to Gash or we're throwing it. Like, we don't have that type of system. But we have a system where that ball can go anywhere based on what the defense does and what the quarterback's progression is. And so I've been really pleased with our quarterback TJ's ability to go through progressions properly, even when we have a tag to maybe what I think is going to come open. He won't go to the tag yet. If it's open, he'll hit it in the right sequence of the progression. So I've been really pleased in that. I think we're right around 19.9 yards of completion, which is really good. It means we're pretty explosive in the pass game. And then the last game and a half, I think our run game's been a lot better, and kind of establishing our identity and what we're good at up front. And then also how teams want to play us too. I mean, a lot of that is dictated off what we get up front from a defensive standpoint, what we can run. So having enough answers in our run game, I think has been really good for us. And I really like the way our receivers block downfield. We've even gotten called for holding downfield, which I'd much rather see that than a receiver not blocking at all. So that's much easier to teach. And so watching our entire offense really kind of buy into their role on the team for every single play has really been good. And then we've been really explosive too, which really helps. And those are some things that I've been really pleased with. Yeah.
So I know you mentioned earlier about the run game, and you may say this again, but as we're moving forward and even going into this week and beyond, what are some areas that you want to continue to see improvement in offensively? Yeah,
the number one thing just is first down efficiency. I mean, we can't have negative plays on first down. I think those are some things that we got to fix, whether that be the call, whether that be a missed assignment, whether that be the focus coming right out of the break. I think some of those things are all kind of a part of that. Not that we haven't been good on first down, but I think our third down conversions that we haven't gotten are more than 3rd and 8. And so I think most of our conversions are 3rd and 4 to 7, which you can be way more balanced when you're 3rd and 4. It's not got to be a pass, and they're not pinning their ears back and giving us a crazy pass rush. But it just opens up. You eliminate what you can call when it's 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 12. Yeah. And so those first downs are really pivotal, and you really saw that in the Burns game. I think we had 3 straight drives where we had a first down play that went for negative yardage, and we converted one of them. And so there you go. I mean, it doesn't lend itself to success when you can't get positive yards on first down. So that's one of the big improvements that we're going to have to see going forward with our team. And so that's probably one of the biggest ones. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not a formula that is sustainable.
It's not.
If you're right, if you continuously have, well, I won't say continuously, but if you have more negative plays on first down, obviously it puts you behind the chains even more. Yeah. And so you're right.
It's the little big, we do a lot of the big things well. We have explosive plays, but we also are kind of missing the little things here and there and not being consistent. And that's probably typical for the first few games, but we can't see that same trend moving forward if we want to make a run down the stretch. And I think that's something that we've really focused on as a staff. Our players know that. And so, I think those little things, they're kind of, when they creep up, we've just been able to mask those things with big plays. And so I think we can't rely on that kind of moving forward.
Yeah, because you'll get to a point where teams will even take those away from 100%. You if you're not careful. Yep. And so that'll hurt you. I agree with that. So a little bit of a poke at Coach Herron here because he doesn't like to set goals. And I know he's shut me down several times. I don't set goals. And I respect that. But as a staff or as a coach, do you set goals for the offense and and how you approach, and if you don't, that's fine. But if you do, do you have game goals? Do you have season goals? Do you have any at all? So first question is, do you set them?
Yeah.
Okay. So the second question would be how do you go about and what are they? Do you set them via like game by game, or are you trying to shoot them for the season?
No, we're game by game, and so we've had these goals in our offense for a long time, like many years, and they are all kind of basic goals that you need to approach or exceed in order to be successful in offense. And then we can also give feedback to our players, and we can look back at our whole offensive process to make sure that we're meeting those goals. The first one is going to be third down efficiency. So we want to be over 50% on third down. I mean, I think against Burns we were 4 for 8, and so that's not bad. You meet that goal, you're probably going to be successful. We want to be at least 50%. So. Like I was talking about before, when you take into consider, well, why is that? Well, most of those third downs were long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, and so those are going to, less percentage of getting those third down conversions. The second big goal that we have is called the 12% rule, and the 12% rule means that out of the total offensive plays that you run, 12% or less of those plays need to have a negative play, penalty, or turnover. And so we were 15% against Burns. So that's not meeting that goal. Right. That's talking about those little things. Sure. And that's why I'm not a big stat guy. I like stats like yards per carry is an indication, but we may have had an 80-yard run on 2 missed tackles, so that may not speak the whole story. Right. But what I see is when we drive down the field and then we have a turnover on the 5-yard line, that all those stats don't mean a thing. You can be 5 for 6 for 40 yards, we can have a 25-yard run here and a 15-yard run there, and we get down there, and those stats don't mean anything because we had a negative play. So that feeds back into that 12% rule. And so we look at that every single week. And so those are 2 main ones. The third one is explosive plays. We want to have 12 explosive plays a game, and that can be run or pass. The way that we determine explosive plays is it's a 15-yard pass or a 12-yard run. And we had 12 explosive plays against Burns.
Nice.
And so that goes back to, well, you're 15% on your 12% rule, so you're not meeting that goal, but you are meeting the third down goal, and you are meeting the goal for explosive plays, and then you see the production that we had. I mean, I think, but you try to have all 3 of those to work and to really have an efficient game and an explosive game where you can score points. And the last one, the fourth one, is red zone efficiency, and I think we were 66% against Burns in red zone efficiency. We had 2 turnovers down there in the red zone. We had to settle for a field goal, but you should be around 90 to 95% red zone efficiency in terms of scoring, not touchdowns, but just scoring in general. So 2 out of the 4 goals we met against Burns, we had some big plays and we needed them. Our kids played really hard, and so hopefully so yes, we do have game by game goals, and then you can kind of look at that throughout the season and see where we are.
2 things I'll say. One, I think guys like that because those are specific, unique type goals, and I think they take pride in getting those types of things and looking for those. They get excited about touchdown passes and blocks and and tackles and those kinds of things. Right. But I believe that they like those because that's an entire unit goal. I like those. Number 2, not related to the goals. I told Coach Heron this last week. The opening drive against Burns, that unfortunately ended in a fumble for us. I thought to that point was the best drive we had done all year.
I agree.
It was methodical. It was run, pass. We blocked well. We ran well. We made great reads on throws. Like you said, the check down. And then I just kept seeing that get through the game. I told him to that point, I thought the second quarter of that game was by far the best we've played all season. And you could really begin to see the gelling of the team and the way the players are coming together. So I even told him, I said, the way you work the clock at the end of that half to try to give us another opportunity. And I said, that was really good. I said, finally, and not that we've played poorly, but it's like that we finally are trying to get, we're a little more cohesive. Yeah. And I'm hoping that translates now that we're getting ready to hit this stretch in the conference and hopefully the playoffs, that continues on. And that's a testament to what you guys are doing. And I think that it is those kinds of things. I mean, the young men see what they're looking for and working for offensively, and I know defensively they have some too, because he talks about the plays and things and the way they grade them with Coach Carroll. But I also think that it's important that we work on those and focus on those so the young men know where we're going.
Absolutely, no, that's been big for us. And really the last thing, just to kind of piggyback on that too, is we don't have stat-based goals for our awards for offense. We actually have effort-based awards. So we actually do an effort report for each kid that plays, and so they actually get like a little helmet sticker if they grade out over 95% on effort plays. And so effort for us is, like I talked about with receivers blocking downfield, like we have some receivers that haven't even caught a ball this year, but they're out there springing touchdowns or blocking to help us spring an explosive run. So those things we want to be not only mindful of that, but we also want to reward that as an incentive to help our team, succeed, just like they do on defense with production points. I mean, so I think we do a really good job with that for sure.
So before I let you go, I have to ask you, because I can't ask Coach Aaron because he's not here. Who came up with the player? Is it the team player of the week or the practice player of the week, and the gigantic obnoxious cowboy hat?
So I kind of designed.
It's hilarious.
So I designed the social media post. So like Darren, Coach Darren Bell, he does all the posts. But so on our schedule, I have teammate of the week and
teammate of the week. That's
teammate of the week. And so we got that hat when we went to a coaches convention. And they were selling them at one of the conventions. So we were like, that'd be really neat to have as either like a touchdown hat or something. Yes. And so we were thinking, the teammate of the week is really neat because the teammate that gets the award picks the next teammate based on specific criteria that reinforces the goals and values of our program and what we like to see, hard work and et cetera. And so that was I can't remember who exactly came up with the hat. I don't know if it was me or not, but I think somebody said, "Why don't we put the yellow hat on them and do it?" So
there's two things I've enjoyed aside from all the football stuff. Seeing each week is that post because I think it's wonderful, but I also think it's funny. Yeah, and that just adds that just is something to look forward to. And the uniform reveal on the mannequin.
Yeah, that's something
I enjoy that too.
We did that at other places, and I thought that'd be neat to do.
Cool.
And thankfully, I was having to do all the posts and everything last year. I was like, man, I really just need to have somebody. But Darren's done a great job of stepping up and taking care of that for us, and because I got the weight room too and all that. So and second block's been great, by the way. And shout out to our school for doing that. They've done a lot of things to help change the schedule to help our athletes instead of lifting at 2:00 and then leaving practice at 6. I mean, that's a long time to be with athletes and athletes to be with us and not eating in between that time. They were able to shift that up and get a lot of I think Jill Cruz is a big part of that. Yeah. Obviously, Miss Wilson and everybody in the building for doing that. So we have all of our football players in the second block, or most of them, probably 95% of them.
That's good.
And so we get to lift them, we get to film, we get a 90-minute block, and so that's been instrumental.
That's a blessing.
And it is. And not many places are able or willing to even try to do that. And they've done a lot stepping up this off season and helping us with that. So
y'all are operating like a South Carolina school now, because that's something I've adjusted to.
Seems that way. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Coach, good luck this week.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate you being on the show with us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
And your knowledge, and I mean, maybe we can have you back again later in the season.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Deal.
I appreciate it.
All right, Coach Jamie Bolton, offensive coordinator. We will take a conference break, a commercial break, and we'll be back after that to talk about this week at Kings Mountain High School. Be right back.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by H.B. Jones Appraisals, KM Family YMCA, KM Paint Pros LLC, Arthur Services Incorporated, Harris Funeral Home,
Welcome back, fans. I said welcome too soon. We want to thank you for being with us tonight. We want to do like we always do. We want to talk about this week at Kings Mountain High School and tell you about all that's going on with the Mountaineers. This evening at 6 p.m., the men's soccer team is at home versus Ashbrook. So by the time this is viewing, that game will be taking place. Hope you were able to come out and see it. Maybe you're watching this later. On Tuesday the 17th, our women's golf team will be traveling to Kramer Mountain for a conference match. At 4:30, our volleyball team will travel to Stuart Kramer. And at 4:30 on Tuesday, our women's tennis team will host Hunter Huss. On Wednesday the 18th, men's soccer is at home versus Hunter Huss. Thursday the 19th, volleyball is at Crest. That's a big county rivalry as well as conference game. Women's tennis will be at North Gaston on Thursday the 19th. And JV football will travel to Hunter Huss. Friday the 20th, of course, our home game versus Hunter Huss. And that is homecoming week. And Drew has a graphic for that as well, so you don't have to look at me. Spirit Week all week at Kings Mountain. Homecoming parade will take place Friday afternoon. Portions of Mountain Street and West Gold Street will be closed for that parade. There will be a block party after the parade on Railroad Avenue in downtown Kings Mountain from 2 to 5:30. There's going to be a DJ and local food and specials. Please wear black and gold to the event. And then homecoming game Friday night at 7:30 versus Hunter Huss. Get her early for parking. It'll be a big night. Wear black and gold to support the Mountaineers and have a great time. As I say each week, please like and subscribe to our channel. If you are not already a member and not already signed up on our YouTube channel, please do that. Thank you for the Touchdown Club's sponsorship. Remember, they do all things Mountaineer academically and athletically. They make all of this possible. Please join the Touchdown Club if you have not done so already at kmtouchdownclub.com, or see one of the members here at the ball games and talk to us and we can hook you up there. Thank you, Touchdown Club, for all you do for all things Mountaineer. Make sure to remember that you like and subscribe, like I said, but also come and like and subscribe to the game. If you can't watch or you can't be here, of course, watch the game, but it'd be great if you come to the game Friday and then go back on Saturday and throughout the next week and watch the game at home. We really hope you'll do that as well. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you to Coach Bolton for being here with us in place of Coach Herron. I pray that you all have a great and productive week, and we'll see you Friday at the game. Take care and be blessed.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by H.B. Jones Appraisals, KM Family YMCA, KM Paint Pros LLC, Author Services Incorporated, Harris Funeral Home,